Picture this: crates of tea splashing into Boston Harbor under a moonlit sky, angry colonists dressed as Mohawk warriors, and the British Empire, the biggest superpower on the planet, watching its grip on the colonies slip like sand through its fingers. Tariffs. Just a simple tax on imports, right? Not even close. Tariffs are like gasoline. Gasoline that fueled revolutions, toppled empires, and crashed entire economies. When world leaders turn tariffs into weapons, the fallout can set the entire globe on fire. And if tariffs are a fuel, what happens when every major economy starts lighting matches? Stick around, because after this, you'll never see the words tariffs or trade dispute in a headline the same way again. All right, let's dive in. Today, we're not just talking about a few harmless taxes. We're talking about one of history's favorite power moves, tariffs. We'll cover how tariffs became one of the deadliest political tools in history. The moments when tariffs backfired so badly, they reshaped nations. And why every time countries start a trade war, it's you who ends up paying the price. This isn't just about economics. It's about power, chaos, and the invisible strings pulling at the economy. And don't worry if you scare easy. We here at the Money Compendium are here to protect you. So if you have the courage, let's face the nightmare of trade wars together. Let's crank back the clock thousands of years. Picture the Silk Road, stretching across Asia, packed with caravans of silk, spices, and gold. Now imagine every city-state and petty kingdom along the way sticking their hands out, demanding payment for safe passage. Tariffs weren't just money grabs. They were reminders of who held the power. Fast forward to the 1700s. The British Empire taxed its colonies to the bone. Tea, sugar, paper, you name it, there was a tariff. Colonists didn't just get annoyed, they rebelled. The Boston Tea Party was a giant middle finger to economic oppression, and it helped spark the American Revolution. And across the ocean, France was simmering. High tariffs on bread and imports mixed with crushing taxes to create the perfect recipe for revolution. Tariffs aren't just a financial decision. They can be a powder keg. And when they blow, people lose their heads. Literally. For centuries, tariffs were the lifeblood of governments. No income tax, no complex tax codes, just ports full of goods and officials ready to take their cut. Those taxes built roads, castles, and armies. Sounds efficient, right? Well, here's the catch. When governments leaned too hard on tariffs, trade choked. Prices skyrocketed. Ordinary people suffered. Imagine a loaf of bread costing triple overnight because some politician decided to raise revenue. We like to think of tariffs as dusty, old policy tools, but historically they've acted more like economic nooses. Tighten them too much, and everything grinds to a halt. Tariffs aren't always about squeezing people. They're often about fear and power. Picture a blacksmith in 1800s America, struggling to compete with cheap British steel. Tariffs protected him and thousands like him. Sounds good, right? Protectionism gave countries like the US a head start, fueling industry and jobs. But here's the ugly side. Every action gets a reaction. Protectionist tariffs led to retaliation, which spiraled into trade wars. And trade wars? They rarely end well. Instead of one blacksmith struggling, you get entire industries collapsing because the other side just slammed tariffs on your exports. It's a vicious cycle. Now let's talk about one of the most infamous tariff blunders in history, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. In the middle of the Great Depression, America thought raising tariffs to record highs would protect farmers and factories. Instead, it triggered global retaliation. Countries stopped buying American goods. World trade collapsed. And the Great Depression got even worse. One decision, meant to protect jobs, helped tank the entire global economy. That's the terrifying part about tariffs. They're blunt instruments. And when politicians swing them wildly, they don't just hit their target, they hit everyone. Now, let's bring this chaos into the present. The world is more interconnected than ever. Your phone has parts from a dozen countries, your groceries come from 3 continents, and your car was probably built in a global assembly line. In this system, tariffs don't just tweak prices, they blow up supply chains. Every time a world leader announces a new tariff, markets panic. Stocks fall, prices rise, companies scramble. And who pays for it all? Spoiler alert, you do. Let's zoom in on the biggest trade showdown of our time. In 2018, the US hit China with tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods. China hit back. Suddenly, the world's two largest economies were locked in a high-stakes staring contest. Factories scrambled to move production elsewhere. American farmers saw their export markets vanish. Prices went up. And the ripple effects? They were global. Entire industries shifted overnight. This wasn't just a trade dispute, it was an economic earthquake. Tariffs weren't just taxes, they were weapons. And the fallout showed just how fragile our world economy really is. Here's the truth. Tariffs are never just a tax. They're like using starter fluid to light your bonfire. Too little and the fire never really gets going. But too much, and you might burn the house down. Tariffs have started revolutions, sparked wars, deepened depressions, and wrecked industries. They're not harmless, they're dangerous. So the next time you see a headline about tariffs being used recklessly, don't shrug it off. Think about Boston Harbor at midnight. Think about politicians swinging economic wrecking balls. And think about the fact that the price of your next grocery run might be tied to a tariff battle halfway across the world. Thanks for sticking around for this crash course in tariffs and trade wars. If you found this terrifying little tour through economic history interesting, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Because this is just the beginning. Because the next trade war might already be brewing. But at least now you might be able to see it coming.